What's going on, guys? JD at JD's Custom Buggies. I've been sitting on this for a little bit and I just haven't had time to even look at it or whatnot, but a while back, Parts for Scooters had been able to import these in the country. They had been working on it for a while. What we have here is the J.Costa Variator, and she's a little bit different than your normal Variator, so wanted to give it a test, actually. So I'm opening this up for the first time. What I have here is they come in, the Variators, when you buy them, they actually come in two different weights. The ones for the GY6s right now, they come in two different weight sizes, 11.5 and 10.5. This one in my hand is the 11.5 version. What makes this so different? And they're the only two that are available in the country, as far as I know, for the GY6. Apparently, J.Costa was making Variators for a lot of other stuff, and they just had to do some work to get this made for GY6, or maybe they made it, but to get them imported. I don't know the whole story, but they were excited when they got them. So I bought both versions. They're both on the website. What makes this so different, and I'm taking this apart for the first time. I haven't even had a chance to mess with the box, so I'm going to read the directions because there's this washer that's taped on. I'm assuming it probably goes in the back, but we'll find out. We're all going to find out together. And what the main goal is, we got our 91X started, and race season's coming up. So a lot of the guys were asking me about this, and I can't give them an honest answer because we haven't tried it. So I figured the least we could do is slap it on there and take it up and down the road. Okay, there we go. So that's what makes it different. These have bullet weights in them. So I'm going to tip it upside down. Yep, they slide right out. So the weights in this guy are, I believe they call them bullet weights. But how I would imagine that it works, apparently, is that same way as your normal weights, these will throw out as the RPMs go up. Push against this plate, and then there's your drive face, your inside drive face there. So we're going to figure this out. I'm going to take a little bit of look at the directions here. And we're going to slap it in. What else comes in the kit? We got a Variator Boss. That's interesting. I want to take this out. By eye, it looks shorter, and I could be wrong. But I definitely want to take that out, take a look at it, and compare it to the one that's in there now, because the other one is stock length. And they give you a cool little sticker. So I'm going to try this out and maybe try and run it if I like what's going on. Now, what I've got going on now, I'll give you a look. We just got the CVT cover off. We noticed the exhaust bolt was missing, so took the CVT cover off anyway. But this is my setup. This is the setup I've been using for some time now. You can find this whole setup on JD's Custom Buggies. It's part of the 91X series. And what that is, the stuff that I've run, that's proven, that I'm happy with, that I figure is good for, good to sell, that I know that people are going to get improvements out of. So the combination that I've got going on right now is we have a Dr. Pulley Variator. I got an SSPG, well, it's Banjing, so that's a whole thing. SSPG has bought the rights to all the Banjing stuff in the country. I guess I don't know the complete inside story, just get small details and whatnot. But basically, the SSPG drive faces that you'll get now are a replacement for the Banjing. They're basically the same item. Is the SSPG bought the intellectual rights and the patents and whatnot from Banjing. Probably pretty much like they did with Hoka when Hoka went under. So this is the Banjing version, but from now on they're coming in as SSPG. Of course, I like purple. It matches the Buggy. Purple's always been my race color. So we got a purple drive face. I've got the Banjing titanium nuts. They're called a flywheel nut. I use them for the clutch and variator. It's the same thread pitch anyway. Right now I've got a Gates premium belt on there. Got a TFC forged aluminum drive pulley for the back. Not a cheap item. It is lighter though. It's about 8 ounces lighter than your stock pulley, which is kind of nice. Dr. Pulley hit clutch. Now the hit clutch, I use it right out of the box. I don't mess with the springs. I like the grab. I like the launch. I'm very happy with it. I've talked to, some of the people that, are in the business that I've, sold them. And basically by changing a lot of the spring settings, they say you'll lighten the hit. And I don't want to lighten the hit. I want it to grab as hard as possible. And then I got the old school, because they're coming in as SSPG, but the Banjing titanium coated bell. So that has always worked for me. I have not changed my CVT setup. The only thing I've changed is a drive face or two. I had one nut come loose one time on me and tore up the drive face, and then the purple ones came out, and I'm like, well, that's perfect. I'll slap a purple one on there and make it complete. So the other thing I've got going on that's really not CVT related, but behind the pulley and the clutch is a TFC billet, I guess you call it a transmission cover, a gear case cover. So I just slapped it on there. What I can tell you, as far as a benefit, I don't see that breaking like a stock one could because of the billet. It's no lighter, which is fine, but I put on there for two reasons. A, because they're pretty as hell, and B, I figured for stress factor, I can see this, when you look at the construction and hold them both in your hand, a stock one versus this one, I can see this adding strength to the back of the case, and to me that's a benefit. So that's where we're at right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the Dr. Pulley Variator. We'll probably end up using the same drive face, and we're going to replace it with the J.Costa. I'll take a couple passes up and down the road, and what we're going to do is just compare. I know this Buggy at this point in this motor like the back of my hand. So I'm going to give you an honest opinion. If I feel the J.Costa is grabbing better, then I'm going to leave it on there and really race test it. If I don't like the way it feels compared to the Dr. Pulley, then we're just going to put the Dr. Pulley back on, and I'm going to, run the way I've been running. Main goal of this is, I'm sure it has its benefits. I don't know. A couple of the race guys have looked all over the internet looking for good information on these things, and it's very vague. So the only way to really tell is to slap it on and try it out. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll give you an honest opinion. I forget what the retail is on it. I will look it up and make sure before the end of the video. The retail on a Dr. Pulley Variator is $99, and I want to say that is like somewhere around $200 for the J.Costa. So I'll get you an exact price on that. But let's find out. Let me look at the directions, make sure we're doing it right, and we'll put it in there. All right. Take off our variator. Give it a squeeze so I can get this off nice and easy. All right, I'm just gonna take a look at the weights. That was a shim. And they're wearing pretty good, so there's nothing wrong with what's going on here now, nothing to change. A washer, that's the wrong one. Put the shim back in it. Alright. I wanted to compare the bosses, because for some reason that boss looked not as wide. Or not as long, I should say. It's just a hair shorter if you look at them. Not much. So, now I'm looking at the directions. Where the main confusion comes in is this washer. Because it says on some models you put it on the back side, and in other models you put it on the inside. I'm not quite sure what model, because it doesn't specify what model. I'm gonna just stick this on. Obviously that fits right there. Our sticker balls. Slide this on. have to do a little comparison view here because I'm going to take a look. I'm going to look with the Dr. Pulley on there real quick and take this washer off. I want to see how the belt sits on there. Make sure my shim stays in there. Oop. There's my shim. Shim would have stayed on there if I put the boss on with it. It's funny the things you've been doing for years and you don't notice until you really start to take a look. Now, I just want to set the belt up here and see if it kind of sits at the same angle or different angle. No? Alright, that looks similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this washer in there because I'm looking at the angle from the, how the belt sits up against the case, and it looks similar to the angle, so we'll try it with this washer then. Alright, so sorry we had a little camera malfunction there. We had to recharge it. I didn't realize it was that low. We went ahead, I think we got the basics down, so we ended up putting the washer in this case on the kickstart gear, which faces out the variator normally. The angles look pretty much the same. I went back and forth a couple times with my eyes, and the belt angle compared to the case looked the same. Other than that, put the drive face on, installed it like a normal variator. So at this point, we're going to push it outside. Most important thing to me is that we didn't diminish any of the launch that this had, because I like the snatch right at takeoff. So we'll do a couple launches, and I'll give you my impression of that, and then I'll probably just take it down the road and we'll see, where we're at around full throttle and whatnot. I have no idea where my tire pressures are right now. I'm not really concerned about it. This tire was flat. We just put air in it. So, yeah, like I said, the whole point of this is to give you my impressions of this versus Dr. Pulley, and based on what I'm used to feeling all the time, and we'll go from there. So let's get her outside. Now I'm a little nervous because we haven't had to drive it before, so who knows what's going to happen. so sure what's going on, but I'm getting a lot of chatter at takeoff. Never did that before. So what I'm gonna do, it seems to keep it in a lower gear longer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down the end of the road, take a ride back, see what kind of difference it makes through the overall RPM band. And then, I don't know, as of right now, not as bad, it's just not for me. So, we'll see. Okay, get turned around. So this is my impression, this is what I'm feeling. Basically, it did change drastically from what it was before, and I might just slap the Dr. Bully in there and put it on video just to kind of give you an idea and to make sure that I don't have something else going on. There's a bunch of chatter that happens at initial takeoff, and it's disconcerting to me because it was very, although the grab was really, had a lot of bite to it before, there was no noise coming from there, you know, no extra noises or whatnot. It was smooth. It was a hard bite and snatch, but it was very smooth. And now it just does a little bit of chatter before it takes off. Once it feels like the weights pop out and engage, then it's kind of smooths out and everything. But what it reminds me of is basically, it's very limiting. And I used a heavier one. I used 11.5, thinking that the motor's got enough torque that I can go with the heavier one. I used 12-gram sliders, which would basically be the equivalent to 10-gram rollers. What it feels like to me is if I took the 1500 RPM torque spring out, the yellow one, and put a red one in there, because it caps out, and it's just like, before, at least when the motor would rev up, I felt like it was still pulling, and here the motor revs, but I don't get as much pull through the whole thing. I mean, I had this thing pegged all the way to the floor. I was waiting for it. Now, at a certain point, not a useful point, but at a certain point at full throttle, it does kind of give you a little extra ramp on the top end. But on a racetrack or trail riding, it's not there when you need it. It's there when you have a long stretch of road, which is more conducive to a scooter, I would say, than to the buggy. So just for get my memory back and everything, it definitely does not feel like the old setup. It doesn't really work for me. Like I said, another application over here for scooters. But so is everything else. So basically, it's just finding the right combination that works better for buggies. I just not feeling that this might be it. But as far as high speed, as far as I think the chatter, I'm assuming that you probably wouldn't get the chatter from a one-wheeled scooter as you would from, with the live axle. I think it puts a lot more you know, obviously a lot more stress on the whole CVT than a scooter would. And then the way it kicks in later on, yeah, it would definitely work on a scooter because you need that extra weight to pull at the end, where I'm looking to have that pull until it doesn't. So let's put the pull down in the launches. I don't know how well it will translate the video, but I can tell you from the simple that you know, it felt like it did before, because like I said, I was really happy with what I had. I'm not so happy on the rest of this the way it is now. So, alright, so we got back in, we tore it all back down to change out the variator, and I noticed that the belt was kind of pinched, like the belt was too tight. Made a couple of changes, gave it another shot. Still not happy. It acts like I've swapped the spring out for a 2000 spring. But when I saw the belt the way it was, I was thinking that the chatter just might be that kind of, when this belt is down in this pulley and this one's kind of trapped up in this one, it gets stuck in like second gear. So I thought maybe that might be a blame for some of the chatter. So I made a couple changes. So pretty drastic changes. Number one, I took that washer they supplied that was behind it. After putting one of the J.Costas on the table next to the Dr. pulley, noticed that with the washer behind it, it stuck up quite a bit. So I was like, all right, that would probably do something. So I took that washer out, and then put a couple shims on the between the outside drive face and on the boss to kind of space it down so I could get the belt there, pretty much lowering the variator. So put the original belt back on. It still seemed kind of tight to me, so I decided to try something drastic and use the belt. Basically put a longer belt in it. This belt is the 758, so the stock belt's a 743, 20, 30, and the 743 is the length of the belt. The 20 is the width of the belt, and that's all in millimeters. And then the last number is the 30 is basically the pitch of the V. So I swapped it out for a 758.5 by 22.3. So it's longer, it's a little bit wider, but it has the same pitch. And this belt is the belt that would come on your 200s. You might find this on some of the Colemans and the new Candies and Dongfangs and stuff like that. That uses the GY6B variator up front and a larger rear pulley. So I tried a longer belt. It was the next size up that I had. I went through all the belts that I've got, and it seemed to be just a little bit. 758.5, so 758 from 743. 14 to 15 millimeters, so you're looking at extra 9/16 of an inch, 9/16 of an inch of length. Yes, it does stay higher. I just pulled the drive face off or whatnot. This is the way it's sitting, and it did keep the belt up in the pulley higher. Went and took it for another run with this setup. I still get the chatter at the bottom. So the chatter, I think, is just the nature of this monster. And what I think it is there's finger weights or bullet weights. As we looked at it in the beginning of the video, what I think is happening is as the variator comes around, they're throwing out like this, one at a time. And I think that's the chatter. They're all just not pushing at the same time, where I think that's why the roller slider setup works a little better, the standard variator or the standard setup. So I gave it a bunch of different tries. I just don't like it. I feel slower on the top end, especially with this longer belt. It seemed to get from point A to point B quicker or better with the longer belt in this setup, but it seemed to cap out longer. I think the belt was too long to go, to feed all the way up and down. I think the belt just capped out, didn't have enough length, and didn't have enough pull. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the old variator back in, which was the Dr. pulley. Take a couple launches just to make sure, none of this is my imagination, that, and B, to get what I had back before. But this setup, unfortunately, compared to what I had, definitely going backwards. I wouldn't want to race this setup for sure. Trail riding and stuff like that, I don't think it's conducive because it makes like a concerning noise when you first get on the gas. And I don't know, the engagement just doesn't feel smooth at the initial. So I'm going to take this all back apart. We'll slide our other variator back on. So, where's my, yep, it's under seat right here. Got a regular belt. So, take all these shims out. You can see I used 3 thick shims. Usually when you buy a shim package, it'll come in sets of 3. And it'll have 2 1mm shims and 2, one 1mm shim and 2 1/2 millimeter shims. So, a total of 2 millimeters. I've got 3 millimeters of spacing here to try and cure these. You know, it's a lot of band-aids to put on to try and get this to work. So, get this setup off and slide our other one back on. Yep, I still got a shim in there. Trying to keep it so all the weight stay put. Slide that back in. A little bit of a squeeze. This is probably the most I've had the CVT on and off in one day, quite a while. I'm a very lazy, set and forget it kind of person. I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of notice. Whenever you put one of these on, you got to make sure it's locked in the splines before you tighten it down. Obviously, it's gonna, you know, start out a little cocked. The bolt will get it back square again, but what you don't want to do is be between slides or be between the splines, because you can screw up the splines if you are, and that'll make you sad. All right, we're going to get the cover and the exhaust back on, and we'll give it another run. Launches right here. You should be able to tell right off the bat, and then we'll give it a skate down the road. And I don't know how much, like I said, translation in the video, I don't know how much it is. You just got to take my word for it. But we'll give it a shot and see what happens. Pretty much like you did before. Just go down the road, I'll give it a skate back. Be able to tell you top speed wise, while it's fresh in my mind, what this is doing that the other one wasn't. needed to be done. We need to figure it out. Racing's coming up, so too many questions about it. New item, I get it. I'm glad we did this because I hate to sell a bunch of them and then have to go get on the track and whatnot. But yeah, as far as the chatter's gone. It's much smoother engagement. Top speed, much better than it was. It felt like a